You're listening to Soundside. I'm Kevin Kniestead. Change is coming to our cryptocurrency market. Last Friday, President Trump signed the Genius Act, the country's first major cryptocurrency law. It will create a regulatory framework for stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency that's value is tied to assets like the U.S. dollar. Supporters say the bill will modernize our financial system, but others say the legislation won't do enough to protect consumers. Since the Genius Act passed on Friday, the cryptocurrency industry has seen a huge surge in market value, jumping to over $4 trillion. Bitcoin alone surpassed $120,000 in trade value. Here in Washington, crypto has a mixed reputation. Last month, Spokane's city council voted to ban crypto ATMs from within city limits. And in rural Washington, crypto mining operations have led to concerns about environmental impact and energy costs. But crypto does have supporters here in our tech hub state, and the digital funds have played a part in some of our elections, like last year when a crypto PAC gave close to $1.5 million for ads supporting Democratic State Senator Emily Randall. So, what does this new regulation mean for Washington State? KUOW editor Gabriel Spitzer sat down with Brady Dale, a cryptocurrency reporter at Axios, to help us make sense of this new legislation.
Brady, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so the Genius Act, what is in the bill?
So the Genius Act is a law that, it's not going to kick in for a while. These laws, they get signed and they take a minute to become real, but it's concerning stablecoins. So stablecoins are these digital tokens which are designed to maintain a stable value, pegged one for one with the US dollar. One stablecoin's worth $1. And these things have been very useful globally. There's $260 billion worth of them in existence. But in the U.S., there's never been a clear law saying that they can be used for payment here, which hasn't made everyone skittish, but has made big, well-regulated companies skittish. They haven't wanted to work with them until they had that go-ahead, and now they will soon have that go-ahead.
All right, so these stablecoins are kind of a slice of the crypto pie. Can you explain how they differ from something like Bitcoin?
Sure. Well, so they're 100% asset backed. So these things are usually a little more than 100% asset backed. So, unlike your deposit in your bank account, which actually mostly isn't there, really. sorry to bum folks out, but that is the truth about how banks work. They lend the money out. Stablecoins, when money goes in, cash goes in. Most of it gets turned into short-term U.S. treasuries. That's how these companies make money. They get to keep the returns in those treasuries. But the person who gets the stablecoin, they usually don't sit on it. They usually use it in some way right away. So yeah, they are very stable. Most of the cryptocurrency market so far, it's new, it's small, has been pretty highly volatile. The folks in that world knew they needed a non-volatile asset to do business with, and so they invented stablecoins, and it has turned out to be the killer app of blockchains.
Really? So this is very different from what people think of as these sort of speculative coins and meme coins and so on that people invest in, hoping that they will be able to kind of pump and dump them and make some money. This is something that will not really increase any more than the U.S. dollar would, for example.
Yeah, they're not really speculative at all. They can be useful in making money in other ways. They can help make business more efficient and things like that. But you wouldn't buy a stable coin just to hope it'll go up in value, because it won't. It's designed not to. Now, there are ways of accessing new kinds of yield off of them, which people like. So you can sit on them and make a pretty decent amount of money in various ways. But they're not. They're the opposite of speculative. Yeah.
Any sense why the Trump administration pushed to tackle this piece of it so early on, rather than a number of the other open questions around crypto?
Well, they're tackling both. I mean, it's just this is the one that worked out first. Most political watchers thought the stablecoin bill would be really easy. It was sort of viewed as a no-brainer. Turned out to be not really easy, but they got it done. And there's another bill in process, which we'll probably talk about later, called Clarity, which sort of deals with a whole bunch of other topics. But the idea was to get a bill on stablecoins and a bill about how to regulate the rest of the industry done this year. Those are the two top priorities for the president, for the Republican leadership, for the industry. And so they got one of those done now.
How would you describe President Trump's relationship with the crypto industry?
Well, I mean, I'd say a couple things. I mean, well, first of all, he was in his prior term was skeptical to the point of being highly critical of it. He changed his mind. He made some money on crypto in between his time in office. He's now made like kind of a lot of money on it. I don't think I mean, folks make a lot of that, and I think that makes sense. It's fair. I mean, it's weird to have a sitting president making money on really anything at all, especially on something that he's helping get laws passed about. But I do think there's other things to it. I mean, I think in the intervening time, he and folks around him got convinced that there is something to this industry, and that people in the U.S. could win in a new industry and do well in it. And I think they became convinced of that. So I do think there is a real interest on the part of the Trump administration in the topic, but it is also true that he and his family have a direct interest in cryptocurrency, and so it's good for them in that way too.
All right. So, what is the point of stablecoins? Why not just use dollars?
Oh, yeah. Well, you are using dollars. It's just a different way of using dollars. The trouble with money as we know it is there are middlemen all over the place. I mean, at the end of the day, the way money moves around the world ultimately comes down to this idea of, correspondent banking, which was, back in the day, banks would literally send letters between each other. And that it is faster than that now, but there still has a lot of inefficiencies, and a lot of it, costs money. So for your listeners, a thing that might be nice about stablecoins is I know you all like coffee shops out there. I'm sure a lot of the coffee shops aren't thrilled about the interchange fees that they pay for credit cards. Well, if more folks have stablecoins in their pockets, on their cell phones and whatever, and the coffee shops are ready to receive them, stablecoins they'll get to keep as much of profit on those, basically maybe a tiny bit less, but pretty much the same as they would if somebody gave them a dollar bill.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
like
So when you do a digital payment now, you use a credit card or a bank card or whatever, the bank gets a little piece of it. This would be
interchange
a direct,
fees. Yeah.
This would be a
It's great for
direct
'em.
exchange between the consumer and the business.
Yeah. All transactions cost like a tiny, tiny little amount in sort of paying the blockchain to secure it, but it is wildly less than interchange fees. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Well, the Genius Act was one of several bills that have been passed by the House of Representatives. It's the farthest one along. But there are a couple of other ones, right? What do those have in store for the crypto market in the coming years and months?
Yeah, so the House sent two other bills to the Senate. I think only one of them really matters. It's called the Clarity Act, and that will, you've probably heard it said that the crypto market is like a wild west, so there aren't really rules for it and stuff like that. Well, this would have Congress give direction to the financial regulators, like these are the guidelines for rules we want you to write. And so that's what the Clarity Act does. It nails a bunch of things down. My expectation on that, you'll hear other people talk about this in a different way. This is my opinion, but I think the president has said he wants the act to be on his desk by the end of November, and I think that'll happen. I think what the House sent the Senate will probably change some. Maybe they'll do a different bill. I don't know. But I think at the end of the day, I think they'll get it done by the end of September. The other bill was the anti-CBDC bill from Tom Emmer. A lot of Republicans are very concerned about central bank digital currency, basically the idea of the U.S. government issuing its own dollar in some way, like a bunch of other countries have done, and many more are looking at doing. They feel like that creates a lot of state surveillance concerns. They don't want it to happen. I don't think the Senate will move that. I mean, the president has already said as long as he's in office, there won't be any CBDCs in the U.S. So I don't think that one is urgent for anyone, but it's something that some folks in Congress care about. But I think the main thing is this Clarity Act, which will, like I said, it'll define the rules of the road for trading and issuing and all that stuff.
Anything else that you think folks in Washington ought to know about how this might affect us or how it might affect all of us?
Well, I mean, I think, it does, having studied this topic for a long time and followed stablecoins for a long time, I mean, I'm pretty convinced it does these instruments will open up some real efficiencies for a lot of businesses out there, and they will save some normal people money and maybe give them access to some new, pretty safe ways to make money. So, I think the crypto market is a complex place, and it can be a dangerous world for the untutored, but I don't really think stablecoins are like that. And so, I'm kind of excited to see the creative things that entrepreneurs end up doing with these instruments over time. I think it could be pretty surprising.
So there's a lot of upsides, it sounds like, just for regular folks, even if you're not like a Bitcoin maven or whatever. But I understand that there have been concerns that there aren't enough consumer protections or guardrails in this legislation. Can you explain that?
I mean, I gotta be honest, it's tough. It would be tough for me to steel man that argument. The biggest concern, I think, for normal people with stablecoins is in certain ways that folks use them. There have been a lot of hacks and a lot of thefts in the crypto world. Online thefts. There's been a lot of ways in which people have been manipulated, and so that's the biggest danger to regular people in the crypto market. To me, I don't really know how law will change that, though. I mean, that was true before. I think that'll be true after the Genius Act.
Well, I'm really grateful for your perspective on this. Brady Dale is a cryptocurrency reporter for Axios. Thank you so much for chatting with us, Brady.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. This show is only possible because listeners support us. If you're able to give right now, please check out the show notes for a link to donate. And don't forget, you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m., Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org.